This is it, last day. Getting rid of the car today. I'm about to head out. This is an emotional time for me. This journey has been incredible. There's a lot that I have to explain to you. So I'm gonna give you my 1 year full review on the 2007 Aston Martin V8 Vantage. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on how the car drives, what it's like owning it, and the good things, the bad things, everything. So let's take a look over the last year, and we'll talk about what it's like to have a vehicle like this. Hey guys, Alex here. So I want to talk to you guys about the 2007 Aston Martin V8 Vantage. I just sold it today, and I wanted to give a 1 year review of what it's like owning a 2007 Aston Martin V8 Vantage, and my thoughts, my feelings on it. So here we go. So the first thing I want to mention is this community is incredible. The community that supports the Aston Martins is just amazing. So, you know, the main website that I used was sixspeedonline.com, and everyone there is just fantastic. There's a wealth of knowledge there, and everyone is so incredibly helpful and friendly, and you know, it's just a great group that is super supportive and will help you with any issue you're having. You know, and there's particular users that are really like power users, and they like comment on every single post, and they're just super helpful. I know TML is one of them. He runs a website called redpants.lol that he puts together packages just for these Aston Martins that you can do your own maintenance, you can and learn how to do that maintenance, because he puts up DIY videos on how to do that. And I know he helped me out on a ton of occasions, and there's so many others out there that are just incredible at educating new owners and everyone else. So I got to tell you, the first shout out is definitely to the community. Now, the car itself is, I mean, it's so gorgeous. It's a beautiful car, and that's why it was my dream car, right? And it's still my dream car. Don't get me wrong. I'm devastated that I sold it, but I have to move on and pursue my new dreams. So one of the reasons that it was my dream car is because it's so beautiful. It's timeless. I mean, I bought a 9-year-old car, and it was gorgeous. And that's incredible. I mean, I think the fact that, you know, it's kept its beauty throughout all these years is just a testament to the design and engineering of Aston Martin. And it really still just, I mean, that car is going to be beautiful forever. It's a classic. It's definitely a classic. You know, some of the other things that I really enjoyed about this car is that, you know, it doesn't like scream for attention. It's just beautiful on its own. It blends in, and you know, it's not like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini where it's just out there and everybody sees it and it's like, oh my God, it's that. The Aston Martin is definitely something that's just more subtle, classy, luxurious, prestigious. It's awesome. The exhaust on this car sounds fantastic. Now, obviously, the car's power band is above 4,000 RPMs, and once you get into that 4,000 RPMs, it just sounds amazing. The only problem is it can sometimes, you know, especially driving around town, you really shouldn't be spending any time in that range, so that can kind of be disappointing. But other than that, the exhaust sounds fantastic. Now, the steering is a little bit on the heavy side, but in a good way, because it helps you feel the road, and you know, that's something really important if you're tracking the car, you're driving aggressively throughout some hill country or something like that. And it's not so heavy that you are noticing it or not enjoying driving just around town or on long drives or anything like that. You know, the ride itself is very comfortable. I had the stock suspension and everything. I know that some people prefer a stiffer ride, especially if they're tracking it or they're driving more aggressively. And there's a lot of options out there that you know, owners go with when installing the third-party suspension. A lot of times they'll lower it slightly, or just want the stiffer suspension, so they'll go that route. I personally didn't feel like I needed it. I definitely don't track the car. I wasn't driving crazy anywhere, and I was very comfortable in the car, so I didn't feel like it needed any addition at all. The cost of this car up front is fantastic. I mean, the fact that I could get my dream car for under $50,000 is amazing. I mean, without that kind of opportunity, I would have never been able to own this vehicle. And one of the reasons it's my dream car is because I'm a huge James Bond fan, right? Obviously, Aston Martin, the brand, is just it's dear to my heart. So the fact that I was able at 27 years old to purchase my dream car, and I don't make millions of dollars, I make a good salary, but it's nothing crazy. And I think that the fact that I was able to own this car is amazing. I mean, just a testament to the fact that this brand is luxurious and exotic, but I can still purchase it. It's just incredible. There's definitely some negatives. So I just praised the cost, right? But you might have heard that I said upfront cost right away, because that is the truth. The upfront cost is cheaper, but everything else is still expensive. So the maintenance, the parts, everything. The more work you can do yourself, the better. And luckily, like I said, going back to that community, they are fantastic at helping people do their own work and walking people through and providing information, diagrams, just everything. And so if you're going to purchase a car like this, you have to hook up with the community, because they are going to be a lifesaver so many times. Now, there's a couple other things that I want to discuss. The leather in this car, although it's beautiful and it feels fantastic, it doesn't wear that great. Of course, it's a 9-year-old car. I don't expect it to last forever, but the fact that the sun is just shrinking the leather and pulling it away from the plastic, owners that have newer cars also experience this issue. And it's just due to the glue that's used by Aston Martin. I feel like that's something that should not happen. I mean, you should take the time to make sure your cars can last long. The interior parts can withstand the sun, the heat, that kind of thing, because they're going to be there. Especially if you want your owners driving their vehicles, they're going to be out there. So just, it's a little nitpicky thing, but it's something that I thought was concerning. The other thing that I thought was concerning that's also nitpicking is the fact that the Bluetooth or the audio interface on this thing is just terrible. And there's no way to hook up your phone or through Bluetooth or anything like that and play music. I have the Bluetooth on my car for audio calls, but that's all it can do is audio calls. And you can get a iPod hookup, but that's like $1,000+ and it's silly. I mean, come on, it's not rocket science. It's just audio. There should be a 3mm jack somewhere, or the ability to plug in a Bluetooth module or something without breaking your bank. The other thing, so a lot of times this car, the transmission, I have the sport shift transmission, and although I thought it was fantastic, I really did, I would totally recommend going with the manual transmission. Not that I necessarily ran into any issues with the sport shift, but I can tell that it has a uniqueness to it that can throw people off. So as long as you learn how to use it, it feels great, and you can really get enjoyment out of it, almost like a manual transmission, but not quite. A manual transmission gives you that instant satisfaction of rowing it through the gears and just controlling that clutch and just learning it, and it's total art form. I totally get it. The sport shift, it does take learning. It does take learning. You can use those the paddle shifters, and there's a certain technique that you can use that makes it easier and faster to shift, and I thought that was really interesting to learn, but it's not quite the same satisfaction as rowing through the gears on a manual transmission, in my opinion, of course. I really don't have a lot of negatives to talk about this car. It beat me up. I gotta tell you, it beat my wallet up. It was way more. I should never have bought this car, to be honest. But, I mean, there's no regrets at all. None. I love this car. I am just like, I mean, what's it like to own your dream car, and then of course you have to sell it, and that's just devastating, and I'm just like, I'm such a bummed mood. But I gotta tell you, the opportunity I've had just having this car is incredible. I mean, just being part of the community, even, being part of the, the dealership includes you in events, and you get to go do things that you would never have been able to go do, and you get to meet people that are just incredible and amazing. And, obviously the class of people that is required, to purchase a vehicle like this gives you that opportunity to meet really interesting people that have done a lot with their lives and are motivated, and they motivate you and can teach you things. And I think that part, that's the part of the ownership that nobody really talks about. That's the value that I wish more people would talk about. That, when you buy these luxurious things or go do luxurious things, you get to mingle with other people that have been able to reach success levels near you or above you, and you get to learn from them. And owning the Aston Martin has just definitely put me in places that I would have never been able to go do, and it also pushed me to go do things that I would have never done. So I think that it's a two-way street when it comes to, it gives you more opportunities, but it also pushes you to get outside of your shell and do more things and meet new people. And I really liked that part of ownership of the car. Now, there is a question as to, my overall thoughts. It's bittersweet because, there's so many things that can go wrong on this car, and you can stress and stress and stress. It was probably, 4 or 5 months ago. I can't remember exactly. I was I wanted to get my car cleaned so bad. I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I rushed out. I pulled my car out, went to the local car wash, and I did the car cleaning. I cleaned it myself and everything, and then I drove back, and I was kind of in a rush. I wanted to get back, have dinner or something. I can't remember exactly why. And I did not take my time, and I pulled into the garage too fast, and I brushed up against the garage. And when I first saw what the damage had been, I was just like freaking out. But of course, it was mostly just paint from the garage that had gone onto the paint on the car. So I was able to buff out like a ton of it. But then I was like looking at this tiny little like 1-inch crack in the fender, and then like some scuff marks, and a couple places where the paint had come off. And I was thinking, okay, that's not so bad. That's gonna be like what, $500-$600 worth of paint work, blah blah blah, right? No, because this car is beautiful, and if you want to keep it beautiful, you have to get primo paint service. And to be honest, I shopped around and I did the best I could, and the cheapest I could get it down to was at like, I think it was $2,400, and that's if I removed all the parts myself and just brought the parts in to be repaired and repainted. It was the bumper and the fender, and I had no idea that such a small, stupid mistake like that was going to cost me, $2,400 from the best price that I could get. And if I wanted to go to the best paint shop, it would have been around $5,000. There's other little things, that, just throw you off at the high cost of owning this car. And you have to have a reserve. You have to be ready to spend a lot of money in order to keep it maintained, keep it up to par. And, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's something you really have to think about, because it's not like your average day car where you spend a couple $100s a year. You're going to be spending thousands of dollars a year maintaining and keeping this vehicle up to what it should be. Now, and that's just like even the maintenance alone, like just your annual maintenance is going to cost you around $1,400-$1,500 from the dealership. Of course, you can do it yourself, which is going to save you a ton of money, but it's just something that you have to take in consideration. Now, the other part of owning it was the fact that, and this is kind of a personal problem, I didn't drive it as much as I could have. Obviously, my insurance only wanted me to keep the miles under 5,000 a year, and I put 3,000 miles on the car over the course of a year, and 3,000 miles is not very far. It's not a lot of driving. At first, my first strategy was I'll just drive it once a week on Fridays, every Friday. But of course, that didn't work out, and I missed a bunch of weeks, and it just was a bad idea. I really should have driven it more, and I hate that there was like a fear of driving it. and that kind of, I don't know. It kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. It's kind of like it kind of ruined the experience just a little bit. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Unless you have no worries about putting tons of miles on the car and not reselling it or anything like that, then don't even worry about that. But if you are thinking of just purchasing it, figuring out what the experience is like, and like realizing that you want to sell it again, then that little part of it can kind of wear at you just a little bit. It's just something to keep in mind. And I know it wore on me a little bit because I knew I was going to sell the car after about a year, maybe two. And it's something that definitely played a factor into how much I actually got to drive the car. The other things I would like to mention is the fact that even though you're driving this like amazing vehicle, a lot of times you find yourself just thinking, okay, why am I driving this car? Like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because I'm just getting from point A to point B. It's got this amazing, like, don't get me wrong, the inside, it's very luxurious, it's comfortable, it's amazing to sit in, but a 2007 Aston Martin V8 Vantage or a 2015 BMW, any series, are going to be about as comfortable, if you're just driving, 30 minutes to work every day or something like that, So I just caught myself thinking, like, okay, with this amount of money, am I really getting the experience that I was hoping for? I probably wasn't, because I didn't really get to drive it. I can think of like 6, 7, 8 occasions where I like really was like, okay, I'm getting my money's worth now. But 6, 7, or 8 occasions over a year doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you're purchasing a vehicle this expensive. I'm not saying it's an overly expensive vehicle, I'm just saying that it's a lot of money still. But so those are kind of my thoughts on this car after owning it a year. I know other people are going to have different thoughts, and I know that other people are going to disagree with me or agree with me, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about my review and what you think maybe where I was wrong, where I was right, that kind of thing. Just to give you a little heads up on where I'm going, why did I sell this car, right? That's a big question. That's a huge question. It's my dream car. I'm in love with it. Why would I do that? I can afford it. What's going on? Well, here's the thing. Timemoneylife is a documentary basically of my life and my goals and trying to achieve those goals and trying to be the person I want to be and that kind of thing, and live the life I want to live. Well, my idea of how I want to live my life has drastically changed in the last several months, and part of that is to live without any debt and to be completely free of any financial responsibilities outside of what my family actually needs. Now, what that means is, getting out of debt, having enough cash reserves where, it's not a big deal if anything major happens, and having a little bit more flexibility in how you live your life, because when you have these debts hanging over you and these requirements to pay bills every month, you really lose the flexibility to control what you do, how you do it, and you're just working to satisfy this financial requirement. And I want to get out of that. And I want to lead my family to a different place where we don't worry about those things. So the process, of course, is to first get rid of all the debt. That means selling my vehicles that I owe money on, and then all my other debts that I have. Now, luckily, selling the Aston Martin was half of my debt gone right there. Boom! It took me a week to sell it. I posted it on Friday of last week, and I sold it on Friday this week. So it literally took me a week to sell it. And that's a fantastic feeling. I gotta tell you, it's amazing. Now, where I'm leading the family is to be a little bit more self-sustaining and understand the world around us a little bit better from a survival perspective. Instead of just going to the grocery store and buying food, I want to know where that food comes from. I want to know how to process it. How do I do it? How do I grow it? How do I, that kind of thing. Like, because if that grocery store isn't there, I kind of want to know these things. I'm not like some post-apocalyptic prepping, crazy nut guy, but I feel like there's a certain romance to knowing how to take care of yourself. And I think that's part of like learning what it is to be human, is to actually learn how to take care of yourself without this middleman called money or financial systems or jobs or that kind of thing. Like, if your job was just to survive and to take care of your family, then it's kind of like cutting the middleman out, because you're no longer going to work and making someone else make money and then them pay you, and then you take that money to someone else to give you stuff that you need to survive. Why not just figure out how to get that stuff you need to survive? Like, cut out all the, there's two middlemen there. So it's kind of like my goal, my thought process. I really want to enjoy life a lot more, and in order to do that, I know that I have to figure out more about how to take care of myself and my family. And part of that process is just going to be me learning a bunch of things, but also changing our lifestyle in a lot of ways. And I want to take you guys on that journey and show you, how I'm doing it, and maybe make some mistakes and show you guys those mistakes and teach you guys what I learned. So, so stay tuned for more on that and more of what that's about. And I hope you guys enjoyed my 1 year of owning an Aston Martin. I know I did, and I'm gonna miss it. So thanks to everyone that helped me out, especially in the community, the Aston Martin community. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. So this is it. Last time taking the Aston. I'm gonna wait for the car to warm up, and I'm gonna drive it over to the bank. We're gonna do all the paperwork and money stuff, and then it will be his, and it will no longer be mine. It's rough. It's rough. This is my baby. This is my dream car. But dreams change. And if you're not willing to make changes for your dreams, then you don't deserve them anyways. So I'm making this change so that I can achieve other things. I've achieved this. What's next? Well, you're about to find out in a couple videos. I'm going to explain exactly why I'm selling this vehicle, and what is next for my family and myself, and it's going to be interesting. So tune in to find out.